Well, hi, Tubers, hi. Okay, so this is part of the 60 Books in Isolation, and the other project I was also doing before this lockdown happened, called 40 Years of Mills and Boon, which I review 40 Mills and Boon books in a year. Some are going to be in my Kindle, some are going to be in my hand, some I've already pre-recorded, and I'm going to do this one first, and then I'm going to upload the others, which are going to come also part of the other series, if you will, the other project, okay? Which may sound confusing, but hey, we're now in lockdown, okay? This is a very, very confusing world. But this is the first Mills and Boon book I've done since the isolation began, and it's called Satan's Mark by Anna Herries, okay? Satan's Mark, okay? Historical romance. It came out in 2000, okay? And let me just read the blurb. New ways, new love. Brought up by a Puritan by her uncle, Annalise Woodward doesn't know what to make of Justin Watchford, Marquis St. John, okay? But she does know she's attracted to him. Finding he really is her guardian and that she must go and live with his mother, Lady Emily, overturns her world. But as she gets to know and love Justin, Annalise realizes that something in his past is troubling him. During the restoration of Charles II, which essentially was Charles I, and then Oliver Cromwell came along, okay, and kind of banned Christmas, and none really likes Oliver Cromwell, at least not in one day. Banned Christmas, very puritanical, and yes, so, and he killed the king. So this is set during the restoration of Charles II, okay? So it starts with Annalise. And Annalise, as you can imagine, being a Puritan, she hides her hair under a wimple. She's very, very repressed. Living in the countryside with her uncle, okay? And this is when she first sees Justin. Here we are. And she's having a conversation with Mistress Hale, the wife of the village parson. A good, devout woman, though somewhat dour and stout of a person, okay? Beneath her plain black gown with its collar of white linen, her more than adequate figure bulged and struggled for freedom, so that she resembled nothing more than a bag of turnips tied up in the middle. I wonder if Mrs. Hale halted as three men passed on their way from the inn, one of them brushing his arm carelessly against the basket. "Have a care, sir," she cried, glaring at him. She caused herself fearfully. "You're kind of not welcome here. The mark of Satan is upon you." The mark of Satan. Satan's mark. Yes, to do with the restoration. This is when Annalise first sees Justin, okay? This is when, okay, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is when, Annalise is still in her wimple. She caught her breath. How attractive he was. He had taken off his hat once more, and his long dark hair shone down like the wing of a raven as it hung on his shoulders. His eyes were very blue, and all that moment seemed to be laughing at some kind of private jest of his own. She did not think she had ever seen such a well-favoured man in her life, and her heart had begun to beat very oddly. Oh my god, the puritanical sexual awakenings. Oh yeah. So, so, and also kind of goes on, okay, to a little bit of the war, okay, the uh, Reformation, okay, and it kind of shows how repressed Annalise is. And she thought she mourned, had she known what it was, had been the absence of laughter in the house. Where had been joy and music and happy faces, there was now only duty and solemn words. She had once been a merry child, a naughty, sometimes blessed with a sunny nature that made her truly loved. Over the years, Annalise had come to accept the teachings of her uncle and aunt, but somehow in her heart she retained the core of joy that had been her birthright. The time she rebelled against the doctrines forced on her and longed for that other life. And she could not be but grateful for her uncle's care. Oh, the puritanical sexual awakens continues. But this is when Justin and Annalise actually meet. Here you go. Alice snatched a cap, allowing her long hair to flow freely on her shoulders, as silken tresses caught the sunlight through the trees. It felt so good, but she knew it would be wrong. Both her aunt and uncle would have disapproved of her removing her headdress, because it was immodest for a woman to flaunt her beauty. It tempted men to sin, and was frowned upon by the church, or to have your hair down, to attract men. I wonder if I took my hair down right now, inside back, courtesy of the virus, okay? You know what would happen? Oh my god, there'd be a stampede. He will catch the scent of my tresses flowing down. Okay. Yes. But she meets Justin in the forest. Of course in the forest, nature in the forest. But now that Justin has seen her beauty, and passionately beneath the surface, he knew that her marriage was a matter of urgency. Perhaps he isn't safe in his old life, but life in his place. But life in England was bound to change now, although the old inhibition had been swept away. People had been repressed for so long that some of them were bound to fall into bad ways. He knew only too well the nature of men. He had taken his woman where he'd found them, off on the ground, sheltered by only the warmth of a velvet night and a shed blanket. He was not the only soldier to have forgotten that ladies were treated with tenderness and chivalry, and England would be awash with men who lost their youth, lost all their finer feelings they once had, together with their land and houses. Yeah, so basically, into Justin's mind, he's going to rescue her. At this point, there is no. Justin doesn't want to bed her, okay? Because Justin actually has a mistress of his own. But he wants to protect her. He becomes her guardian, her legal guardian, okay? And whisks her off to London, where she's made fine. She's turned into a lady. Here you go. Yes. Here you go. And the thing is, at the time, Annalise is kind of in an arranged marriage to a guy called Mr. Broughton, okay? Who she doesn't even want to marry. She wants to be free of this. So basically, Annalise and Dustin just doing each other a favour at this point, okay? So, right. It was to my aunt's kinsman and Mr. Broughton. A flush stained her cheeks. My uncle intends to arrange a marriage. While she told him that, Annalise looked away. She embarrassed by her own indelicacy. This man was a stranger to her. She tried to discuss matters of such intimacy with him. Well, intimacy, yeah. Well, a couple of pages later, this bit is when our aunt's coming to guilt trip her. It is your uncle's wish, Lady Prudence. Her name's aunt's called Lady Prudence. Reminded her. Her mouth thin in disapproval when she looked at Annalise. You will not wish to disobey him. You will not wish to show disrespect him now he is close to death. Her uncle had a stroke. I owe you both my uncle a debt of gratitude I can never repay, Annalise replied, her cheeks flushing. His conscious of her heart beating very fast. I do not wish to disoblige you, aunt. Truly I do not. My father's will made the Marquis St. John, or St. John, my guardian. Am I not obliged by law to obey him? Burn? Burn! I like this woman. Annalise is cool. She's repressed under her wimple. Now, I actually like that. I like the fact that she's not a total walkover. She's very, very subtle. She's kind of, as you imagine, a courtly lady to be in these times, okay? She wins wars with words. And no, as a former husband, I actually like that about her character. I like that about her character. Hey, I like the character. Okay? So, but obviously, the thing is, in this, the person who has the issues is Justin. Okay? Justin, who has a missus. Justin basically, okay, spoiler territory here. His mother essentially was an adulteress. Basically, crushed Justin when she was quite young. And Justin's never recovered from this. Okay, he kind of holds people at arm's length because of this, because of the way his mother made him feel. Okay, like this bit here. Justin browsed Rose as he saw how struck by her change, not only her appearance but her manner. She was enchanting. Her mother had worked a miracle. He could hardly believe that this confident lady fashion was the little Puritan maid he had seen singing in the woods only a few weeks earlier. Oh yes, oh yes. So. But the thing is, obviously, with Annalise being so beautiful, several people desire her. Okay, and the thing is, this is where the standards. Now, one thing is, it's shocking, but the thing is, essentially, Annalise is attacked. Someone tries to assault her. Okay, at this banquet. Okay, but the thing is, this is where the author, if this is where the actual author's got a kind of delicate line. If the author is towing Annalise's side, that goes against the mentality of how it was back then. Back then, especially in post-Reformation, especially back then, women who were attacked were seen as somehow brought on themselves, okay? Which is a temperate mentality, but sadly it's realistic, okay? It still goes on in this world today, okay? Now, Annalise, because she's at this party and she's basically trying to flirt and trying to fit in, she's kind of away. When she is attacked, she is seen as fair game, okay? Okay. Now Justin doesn't automatically, even though he's pissed at the situation because they're stepping to protect her, it doesn't automatically take her side over this. It basically says, "But what the hell were you doing? Going with him? Okay, going with this guy." And Annie's had to justify herself. Like it or not, that shows actually some good research back then. Okay, So kudos once again to the author. And but the thing is that they eventually do connect and grow together, and they do get married, and have they do it before the wedding, which is that's quite interesting for Mills and Boon if you ever get anything. But yeah, so it goes just before the wedding, okay, and it's very very enjoyable as you can imagine Mills and Boon to be. But the thing is, this kind of shows how even though they're married and they're kind of getting together, Justin's heart is still guarded. And it's very interesting from Mill's perspective from a man's point of view in this bit here. He's not being fair to either of them. In his heart, Justin knew that as a young woman, Lady Emily, his mother, had a good reason for taking lovers. His father had not treated her well. It was no that Annalise was not his mother. A fortunate escapade at court has been called by various factors, the chief of which was innocence. He had taken her from the sheltered background and thrust her ceremoniously into a sophisticated world of courtiers who were often licentious and cruel. The wonder was not that she had lapsed occasionally, more that she held her own so well. Here you go. I like to see some character growth in these books. So, but the thing is, it kind of broadens this plot, okay, to assassinate King Charles II. Okay, they're trying to bring down King Charles II. Okay, so it kind of gets embroiled into that, which kind of I don't know, kind of falls apart a little bit. But here we go. But I did like this bit here. Okay. It might be difficult, you sire, Annalise said, feeling genuine sympathy for this man who had such a strange life. He had gone from a life of privilege to great riches, as the years of wandering and uncertainty, often close to capture or death, never known for certain where his future lay. His wanderings as an improvised exile had at last brought him back to England, and a phone but had cost his father his life and must be an easy seat. How can you ever be certain who is to be trusted? Everyone smiles to your face but some plot behind your back. Right. I actually like that. I like that because basically Justin is implicated in a plot to assassinate the king, which is obviously not true. And basically Annalise has got to do everything she can to kind of clear his name. And there's quite a brutal scene as well where Justin is attacked. And actually it's quite brutal for Mills and Boon as well. So I was surprised by this. It's not often that you read, even in Mills and Boon, Puritan fiction. Okay? It's quite rare. So even though this book is a cheesy Mills and Boon and it's about repression and obviously a Puritan taking her hair down and sexual awakenings of the planet, at the same time, as it's so different to what you normally read in Mills and Boon, I actually liked it. I liked its difference. So, yeah, positive review for Mills and Boon. I liked it. So, right, Satan's Mark by Anne Harris. It's a pretty good Mills and Boon. It's different. And as I said before, it's very unusual to read books set in Reformation England. I liked it for that. Sign off here. Bye now.